Edit audio.
Before I met Mary, I'm pretty sure my picker was broken. And by picker, I mean that invisible instinct that one has that decides who seems like a good person to date and who gives you the ick. Now, for me, at that time, I could admit it, my self-esteem was kind of in the dumper. I didn't really think I was worthy of much or that anyone would be interested in me. And I had this underlying belief that love never lasts and people you get close to are always going to hurt you. Now, because of that belief, I had zero interest in actually letting someone get close to me. So if there was a person who was, unavailable, maybe like a straight girl or something like that, or a person who was just kind of broken emotionally and not so healthy in relationships, Lord, was I in love. In hindsight, it all seems super easy to see what I was doing. If I picked a person who could never really give me what I was looking for, well, then I'd never be surprised when they left me. Hello, everyone. I'm Robin Hopkins, and this is Well Adjusting, where I talk to people about life stuff, but not in an NPR way. It's more like we're at the bar, having cocktails, getting into your business sort of way.
It's giving drunk NPR.
Oh, and producer Steph is here too.
Hello.
Today we chat, being your authentic self in relationships. Hi, friends. In honor of that holiday that I absolutely despise, Valentine's Day. Yes, I hate it because, one, it's a manufactured holiday that pressures you to appreciate a person on a specific day. I think that's dumb. But also, it makes single people who don't want to be single feel kind of crappy. My tangent is over. Personal feelings aside, Valentine's Day is a thing in our culture. So we wanted to talk relationships in this week's episode. Luckily for us, so did our guest, Renee. Now, she came on to ask the important question, how do I become okay with being single? Now, in typical well-adjusting fashion, we started there and then ended up really digging into the idea of, can you even answer that question when you've been hiding in your relationships, never really letting people see who you truly are because you are afraid of being left? I mean, can you? Well, we are going to talk about that. And I have to say, it occurs to me that we might have accidentally created the Anti-Valentine's Day episode that I was longing for. And I kind of love that. Take a listen as we pick apart the idea of to be or not to be in a relationship with the lovely and talented Renee.
My name is Renee Colvert. I am a creative here in Los Angeles that originally started as a musical theater performer, but I've recovered. And now I'm over in creative development. So writing, podcasts, all that jazz.
Okay, so now this is the moment of truth. In a sentence or two, what's the problem that we're going to discuss today and kind of pick apart and just have some fun with?
Robin, heal me. I would like permission to be okay with being single, with being hyper independent. I want it, but unless luck is on my side, can it just be okay for me to be okay with it and not want to want it?
Oh, what's so interesting is I'm so with you. And then all my questions started popping up with not wanting to want it. But before we get into that, I want to back us up a little bit. And I want to talk about, without being tell us your dating history. Tell us your dating history a little bit.
No, God, 100%. And again, I still need the Robin sparkle onto this, but I've been through therapy. I've been through codependent. So it's that. I'm an anxious attachment type of person. Okay. I got that codependency. I've worked very hard to push it as far as I can to recover, but there's still, you are who you are. Yeah. So all through my 20s and 30s was me just begging my person to be please love me, please love me, please love me. And it didn't quite shake out. And then when I turned 40, I was just I think maybe I'm going to take a little break. I'm going to take a little break. And from that, Robin, my career skyrocketed because I think what I learned from that is over those past 2 decades, I was always putting my person in front of me. Mm-hmm. So I think this comes from my own anxious attachment.
Yep.
I'm codependent.
Yep.
And then I think it's luck. I really do, because I've been on all the dating apps. I've done all the things, and like my person just hasn't come in yet.
Yeah.
So I think that's where I'm curious. Is it okay to not look and just kind of trust the universe that like, we'll notify you if you're supposed to be with somebody. We'll let you know.
Well, I mean, the TLDR, as the kids today say, is yeah, but we're going to say way more than that. We're going to say way more than that.
I love it.
But I want to know, like, during those 2 decades, did you date? Are you like when you're dating, a serial monogamist, or are you like date a lot of people once? Like, what's your vibe?
Yes, serial monogamous. And then 20s was like serious relationships, was living with them, was doing all the things. Something happened in my 30s that I think and probably fear of abandonment is probably going on there. So there's probably something where I chose the people that I knew were going to leave me, that I knew I could control. I'm just like, okay, great. Well, then I got the ending figured out. So then it was the classic, like, if you were to ask me, I would say, well, we've been dating off and on for 5 years. If you were to ask them, they would be like, I mean, I think I dated her. I don't remember. Like, just kind of,
wait,
we're not on the same page.
I need some real clarification on that, because that's fucking brilliant. Like, was it that you were like, because in your head you were still kind of like considering them, so you considered it dating, and they were like, I know, we went out to dinner.
Right. It's all the unspoken things. So, and I think I also had a tendency for like, the second I date you, I'm just like, all right, well then our dog will be named this, and we'll probably retire in Seattle, and like just out of the gate trying to like, whatever that is. I don't know if the patriarchy conditioned me to be that way or something.
Let's
but I
blame
would
the
just
patriarchy, though.
Let's do it. Thank you.
We'll probably get to your parents, but I like to start with the patriarchy though.
I think we'll get to my parents. So it would be all the unspoken things that I would think, oh yeah, we're on our way to living together forever. And he's like, I don't know, we went to go see that Marvel movie. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
You could tell what a loser I was dating. I'm like, we went bowling.
Many Americans find themselves at an unprecedented moment. We feel isolated. Our world is marked by divisions, and we're not sure how to engage neighbors across differences.
We know our communities thrive when they are places of belonging for all. It's time to rebuild the we, a bigger sense of we than what we see around us today.
That's why we created Reimagining Us. I'm Nicole Argo, the founder and executive director at the Together Up Institute.
And I'm Scott Hutchison, the executive director of E Pluribus Unum. On Reimagining Us, we'll be talking to behavioral scientists, change makers, and educators to understand why we're divided, to hear true stories of people bridging divides and finding common ground.
Reimagining Us is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Learn more at nextchapterpodcast.com/reimaginingus and togetherup.org/reimaginingus.
Okay, so I can't help myself from asking about your parents, but like what was modeled to you in, because I like, it's so funny because I remember in my 30s and like 20s, everything was like, I chose people that were like unavailable so that ultimately like exactly like that would come to fruition. And then by the time they showed up, I'd be like, well, I was here for you, but now, because it's like I really wasn't open or available. I was very shut down. And that came from, parents splitting up. So that's why, of course, we have to go back a little bit just to get the lay of the land.
100%. And I got to give a caveat.
You could tell I'm not a therapist because I just said, let's just get the lay of the land.
Do you know how much money you're saving me right now? What I would give for every therapist to be like, we can knock this out in 45 minutes. Tell me about your parents. But yeah, and let me give the caveat. I don't think there's any way my folks will find this, but let me give the caveat of our parents did the best job that they could do. Anything that's wrong with them, their parents did to them. Yeah. So I think folks are still together. Folks are wildly insecure. Just need constant outside validation. So growing up, it was that fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. I was a fawner. I'm just like, let me make you feel great about yourself so that I can get a ride to dance. So
that just broke my heart.
I know. I think everybody's got a story that'll break your heart.
I know.
Right?
They should have just given you a ride to dance, but they're not listening, so it's fine. I'll give you a ride to dance, Renee, if you need it.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for that. That one, I don't know the direct correlation of why I don't put myself in situations to be in a relationship where I could be vulnerable. how that relates to
Yeah,
my
well,
folks.
I did this whole like self-helpy thing where they talked about how with our parents, you either like emulate what they're doing or you do the exact opposite. But what I thought was always so interesting is they talked about that in either one of those spaces, you have no choice. Like you're not actually choosing, you are just in reaction to what was done to or for you. And I think it sounds like immediately you were just like, I'm going to emulate and give them back what they need because that's how they're going to love me. Did that show up in your relationships? Like, were you a fawner in your relationships and stuff?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So it would, obviously, I think the anxious always go for the avoidance. And then, I don't know about what this means, but the pattern is every person I've dated, before we dated, they had a dream job in mind. After we were done, they had that dream job.
Oh, you got them there, the lady behind the person.
Thank you, and I will shout that from the hilltops. So
Yeah.
I think it was a let's get you to where you need to be, and then it'll be my turn. Let's make sure we got all your stuff coming true, and then get to mine, which I know is on me. I know it's on me. This is why I'm here. So you can
be kinder. Like, I mean, let's just start with being kinder, right? Like, because that's what, in order to like, it sounds like, and again, God, I really do hope your parents don't hear this, but like, I love you guys. You did a great job.
Right. You did so good. You did so good.
You did a really good job. But it really does sound like they're taking up a lot of air in the room, and the only way you could be seen was to do that. And I think I'm wondering, like, let's say you're dating, and you catch yourself and you're about to fawn, and you don't want to fawn. You really don't. You're a little bit like, fucking figure that shit out. That's the dishwasher's over there. Make a decision not to fawn. What are you afraid is going to happen? Like they won't love you?
Oh God, that's such a good question. On the surfaces, I can't control this. I'll lose control of the situation. Okay, let me think of it. Okay. Yeah, God, I think it's my own personal panic of if you don't feel great about yourself, this goes off the. I can't sit in that uncomfortability with you. I don't have the practice to sit in any emotion other than things will be fine and you're great.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like, I mean, we always love to give homework at the end. And my very first thought is like, I think that's a real thing for you to explore, is to make this connection between your parents. Because it's like, as an outsider, just in the couple of things you've said, of be like, of course, if they were anxious or in that space and you felt like you had to prop them up, like that would really create a thing. Like, if I don't do this, the world is going to fall.
Right.
Like their relationship's going to collapse. Our space won't be safe. And then I'm just immediately hop, skip, and a jump over to you, all like, first date, we're married, and I'm propping you up and getting your dream job. And then I'm like, well, where in any of those equations is Renee?
Yeah.
And like, where does she get to be like, hey, bitches, I deserve to be loved. Who the fuck is going to prop me up so I get my dream job? Like, I'm already really pissed off on your behalf.
God, no, Robin, it's that.
I already feel like the premise or the question that you've asked is actually not the right question. Not right or wrong, but like, because it's like, how can you even know if you want to be in a relationship if being in a relationship means no one takes care of or supports you?
Oh my God.
Or really truly loves you. Like, how can you even make that decision if you're standing on a house of cards?
What are we, 3 minutes in and already my mouth's agape? But no, God, Robin, I've never thought of it like that. Like the analogy of, I can't have candy in the house because I'll eat it. So just no candy in the house.
Tell me about it.
I'm just not allowing it to be there. So if I'm in one, I'll do that.
Yeah. Well, nobody gets hurt in all or nothing, right?
Right.
Because it's just like, well, I said no. I said no, and I'm saying no before you can say no. Because in these relationships, it sounds like people are saying no to you, but they're not even with the authentic you.
That's so good. That's so good.
But by the way, like having the on-off switch, like that can be a useful tool, right? Like that can be a protective mechanism. So like, I want to be clear that we're not like, run out the door and turn it on. Like, Let's take a breath.
Steph is always like, I have this image of Steph behind me with like a big broom, just cleaning up my massive wild statements. She's always just like, burp, 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 burp.
I mean, you didn't say that, but I'm like, sometimes you get excited with like a revelation and then you like run. I mean, I run out the door and I try to like, change my life right then because
100%.
that's the manic energy I bring to life. But I guess I want to hear a bit more about your past relationships and how you feel that they fell apart.
Yeah. So growing up, I always feel like I want to undercut this because like what woman didn't have this, but there was a pretty rough eating situation to the point where I went to college and in my freshman year, I gained 60 pounds in one semester, which is.
Oh, I could do that. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I got that. I got the sames.
Sure. So just like, obviously I'm not dealing with my feelings. So doing this way, it's the one thing I can control, all the things.
Right.
And I promise this is getting to the first relationship. So I remember getting off the plane. This was before 9/11 because my parents were at the gate and I remember them still looking for me. That's how much it had changed. And then when they did see me, the just like, it was awful. And that was the response to everybody because I'm 5'3", 6, like it's just going to be a different person that you're seeing. So the one person who didn't care, who didn't mention it, who didn't look like that was my high school sweetheart. And we had met up to go skiing. And there was just such like unconditional love coming from him of just like, I love you. I don't care what it looks like. Like it was beautiful. Then the summer between my freshman and sophomore year, he proposed. We're both 18.
18.
And I remember in that moment, and again, he's the most amazing person. But I remember in that moment thinking, I'll tell him tomorrow. I'm going to say yes now, but then I'll tell him tomorrow. We can't. I don't want to lose you. I don't want to lose you. So I'm going to say yes in the moment because obviously I can't sit in anything other than joy. And then that turned into we got married for 5 years. I'm just like, I'll tell him tomorrow. I'll tell him tomorrow. I'll tell him tomorrow. I'll tell him tomorrow.
I'll tell him tomorrow right up to the aisle.
Yeah,
like walking down the aisle, like maybe you planned a wedding.
Right.
I'll tell him tomorrow.
And I think I just didn't have the skills to even recognize what's going on here. So I don't want to lose you.
Yeah.
But like he wanted kids and family. I just wanted to be a Broadway star. Like it was just, it wasn't going to work. But the pain of losing the one person who like genuinely accepted me was, I couldn't bear it.
Yeah.
But then, as all things do when you're not supposed to be together, we kind of blew it up in a way that it was, you couldn't deny it. Of just like, okay, well, we both cheated, so we got to get ourselves out of here. And then after that, from then on, I dated the gig, not the guy. So I dated the guy who had the job I wanted. So
interesting.
This is gonna be sad, but I wanted to be a tour guide at Universal Studios. And so I dated a tour guide. Right. And he was great. And he was so much fun. And then after the tour guide, there was musical theater. And that person was part of Avenue Q.
Oh, my God. I loved Avenue Q.
Oh, my God. Same.
So good.
So good.
With him for 5 years and then came back out to Los Angeles. And again, cheating all throughout that one.
You're cheating or they're cheating or both?
Everybody's
that one was
cheating.
they were.
Oh,
that one was they were.
Okay.
And then 30s was I would date the writer of the show that I wanted to write for. I would date the stand-up comic who was doing what I wanted to do. I would date the podcaster who was doing what I wanted to do. And
it's almost like you really just wanted a job, not even a partner.
Mm-hmm. And again, I didn't have awareness of any of this. I just thought I liked these people. But then in hindsight, I was just like, oh, I always dated the gig, not the guy. And then I would always get the guy his next job and then be like, all right, my turn. And then there'd be a drifting. I don't think there was ever any official breakups. There was just a drifting.
A slow fade.
Right.
And then you did a stop? Like, are you at you're not dating right now?
Yeah. So, and then I turned 40 and there was just what am I doing? So I made a decided decision to stop for a little bit. And then at that point, I had no traction on my career. So I got a job as a receptionist at a podcast company. And then throughout the next years, I went from like receptionist to like executive creator in a matter of months. And I was just like, shit. Oh, look what can happen if I try instead of trying to get them ahead. So I think it was I can't be trusted, so I just won't. And then had I not seen my own career success, and yeah, go ahead.
You don't still believe in that conclusion, I can't be trusted, do you? I mean, I did ask that in a very not great interviewee sort of way because I pointed
really
you, but
going with the
answered
lead.
honestly. I know.
Yeah.
I wonder how Robin wants me to answer this.
God, no, Robin, it is such a good question. I believe I won't repeat patterns at this point.
Okay.
I believe I can recognize it. I think I could leave. I don't know how to vocalize any of it. Sitting in the uncomfortability of it all would still be a problem.
I'm glad Steph had you lay out your dating history more clearly, because it does show like that thread of that in each one of them. There's a Renee that's a dating Renee, but it's like maybe 25% of Renee. And that Renee doesn't have your authentic voice, doesn't stand up for herself, doesn't ask for what she needs or wants. And so it's a portion of you, but it's not all of you. And I'm wondering, because here's the thing, the one thing I really, really, really want to be clear on is I'm not attached to any outcome. Like the answer at the end of any of this work could very well be like, I really want to be alone right now. And that is 150,000,000% okay and right for me. But I think what I feel, or what I'm feeling and talking to, is I want you to know that decision is coming from a place of this is what I really want, not like this is all I think I'm worth, or this is all I think I can get, or I'm afraid that if I go into a relationship, I'll lose myself again. So I'm wondering, like in your friendships, do you show up the same way? Is it a middle ground between dating Renee and authentic Renee, and that's friendship Renee?
Yeah, it's better. It's certainly better with friends, but yeah, like we just had the wildfires out here.
Yeah.
And I called no one. I didn't do it. You just handle it. You just do that. So I think I don't love learning this about myself, but I think I'm like, no, I've got really close friends, but I got really close friends so long as I can present in a everything's under control type of way.
I have no idea what that feels like. Do you, Steph?
None.
I love a good look how handled it all is.
Right. Yeah,
But
I won't burden you with this because I got control over it. I will just sort of recap what happened.
I wonder if maybe friendships are a place to start practicing.
Yeah.
To start being like, I mean, I don't know. I think even just doing something like this podcast and just opening up the door and just being like, here, this is a little bit of the mess that's here, and letting like us even talk to you about it is in that space. So I'm wondering if like there's some kind of like a, everybody knows I love this, like the rubber band analogy for smoking, like where when you catch yourself trying to either clean things up or not call somebody because you're not perfect on this day, or or snap the rubber band and then call that person, or show the mess, or show that, because it's like, I just, like, I can't help but feel like this is so much more than dating, and it's so much more about you staking a claim in the world as Renee and being like, I'm fucking here and I have valuable, lovely things to say and I contribute and I'm a good person and you should know me, versus I can help you.
Robert. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, God, all of that is, isn't that funny how much of a like defense mechanism we have and like how well we have it running that you're just like, I don't see any of that. But that all of that's right. All of that's right. And all of it feels terrifying.
It always does.
And like, as you were saying that, I was like, well, maybe I can get into a support group where I don't know anybody and I hear about their problems first. And then it makes sense that they could hear about mine. Just because you're right. Like, I would love to intellectually get myself healed, but I think it's the messy stuff of like, you got to sit in it. Well,
it feels like you have a lot of the intellectual work already done. You understand your patterns, you understand what you do, and you know what a Reneeism is, but then like, I don't know, I feel like my therapist, Patricia, at one point when I first started seeing her, said something along the lines of like, we didn't create the problem in isolation, so it can't be solved in isolation. It needs to be worked out through like a partnership in some way. And that's why I'm just wondering if there's some safe friends that you could practice with. And And then that makes me want to ask this question, which is, what would it look like for you to practice with friends of being truly you?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure my friends would love it. I'm like, there you go. That's what we've been trying to get out of you forever. It truly is the control thing. It's the control thing, and it's the, I think, transactional relationship thing of just like, now I owe you. All right. Like it feels like an immediate, if I'm a burden, then I gotta pay you back immediately, which I know is wrong. I know that's wrong. But I think
it's not wrong. It's just, I don't know if that's how people are truly thinking of you.
Right.
Like if you called me up and
right.
said, you know, like, hey, something's going on, X, Y, and Z, and you were just like, do you have 15 minutes? And we talked. I wouldn't hang up the phone and be like, well, now that bitch owes me 15 minutes. Like I would just be like thrilled that you saw me as a person that could help and that we talked. And also, and like you said, you've been in some, I'm assuming based on you said the codependency work, you might have been in some 12-step rooms. So
Robin, I hate this, but yeah. No, I have, but then I hang up the Zoom the second they asked me to share. I was like,
yes.
We've lost the connection.
So do I. I like to just listen. But my point is with that is that you know that like the people talk all the time in 12 steps about how helping you actually helps me.
Right.
And so I wonder if that's something that you could bring, like remind yourself in those moments of like, you know, they're not keeping score, but I'm like by opening up and giving them a space to talk along with you, it might remind them of something. You know, every sponsor sponsors because it keeps them in check too.
Right. All of it sounds real. I guess the only thing I can report is it's in my body. Like when I think about it, it's a clench in my heart, in my throat, and it's a freeze of like, don't, you can't. But all of it makes sense.
I get how fucking scary what I'm saying is. I get I'm saying it like, oh, could you just? And it is not could you just. It is hard and scary and terrifying and breaking something that's at your core. Mm-hmm. Like there's some real core protection thing that you're doing here. And so I'm asking you to address or look into all of that. And it's like, no, thank you. But like, I think the fear tells you you're on the right path. And like, that's why I'm just trying to say, what are really small, maybe scary, but not going to send you into fight or flight type things you could do. Like, could you put it in a text to somebody? Like, I'm just having a bad day today. And by the way, I did this once recently to somebody. Like, I put it in text to this one friend and I said, I don't necessarily want to talk about this right now. I just want to say this.
Yeah.
And then I came back to it later because I just didn't, I knew I couldn't hear them. It's going to be fine. And I was just like, I'm not in the space, but I was like, also like, I can't just sit over here and pretend it's perfect. Like I am really scared right now.
Right. Yeah.
Like, does any of that sound like that's approachable?
The text absolutely sounds doable. Even a voice memo.
Voice memo. Love a voice memo.
I have so many. I wrote down like 15 things, so I'm like really trying. No. This is always me. I'm like, but I think something that is like helpful for me when I feel like scared or that fear is like, you know, when you like had to make yourself small as a kid so that you could get to dance class.
Right.
It's like you needed to get to dance class, you know, like you were a small person who relied on your parents and you had to rely on your parents. There was no other like option. Whereas like now, like you are a self-sufficient person. Like you don't need to rely on other people. You can open that door a little bit if you want to, but like you carry yourself through the world and can get yourself to dance class, you know? So like I like to remind myself like that fear is like coming from a place of like me being a child and needing to be in that situation. Whereas now it's like a choice. I don't know if that sits with you at all, but I hear you like saying things when you're talking to us, even like, oh, I'm going to undercut that. Or like, I don't want to lose that. Or I did that. Or that was my fault. And it's like, I just want to remind you that like, you don't have to make yourself small anymore because you have the power that you gave to your parents as a kid.
Yes. Everything you just said. Yes.
And then.
Yes. And
why are you making that face? I want to know why you're making that face.
It's because it's the exact same thing. I think you guys are really bringing to light, because I would like to remind you, I came into this being like, I'm fine being alone, with no awareness around like, you're terrified, which is where you guys have gotten me now, which I appreciate, and hate.
We're really good at that. We're really good at making you uncomfortable.
I think you guys are really shining a light on, just because intellectually you understand it all, you really haven't made much progress because you're not practicing any of it at all.
Or it's your starting line.
Sure. I like that. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's like, I mean, it sounds like you're very much like us in an all or nothing thinker. It's like you either have to be fixed and you have to be fully communicating with your friends, or you have to be off. And I'm just saying that there is a middle ground where you work up to being open and available, and when you recognize when it's not safe to be open and available. Because again, going back to that thing that we said earlier, which is that right now you don't have choice. It was a safety thing that you did to protect yourself. And right now you do it automatically. Like, you know, just a thing you do. And so it's slowing it down. Like I think about on that other podcast that I work on, Dear Headspace, about how they talk all the time about like that stop technique of like literally S stands for stop, T stands for take a breath, O is observe, and P is proceed. And in a moment that I don't like, I forget to do it. And then 2 days later, I'm like, why didn't I do stop? So I've been practicing in good moments running through stop.
Ooh.
So that hopefully that when I get to my next traumatic moment, which will probably be like around lunch, I'll remember to do it.
Right.
So far, no. But like that doesn't mean I won't get there.
Yeah.
And now there's choice in it versus me automatically going and jamming a Snickers bar down my throat.
Right.
And brains are so cool. Like that is literally the whole basis of like cognitive behavioral therapy. Like you're actually training your brain, and that actually will happen. Like you're making those pathways. And so eventually you'll become trained enough that that will happen automatically, which is so cool.
Yes. Yes.
Do you trust or believe that in real life?
I 100% do. And I think there's, this sometimes happens on antidepressants too, where I'm just like, I'm fine. I don't need them. You're like, because you're on them. That's why. God. So I think in those good moments, there is a like, well, I'm healed and everything that's ever been a problem for me is now in the past and I'll be fine forever. And so I think, I'm all or nothing in the good moments. It doesn't even occur to me to practice this because I'm good and it'll never be bad again.
It always is, though. It's just what I hate. It's just such a process.
Yeah.
I want to ask you if, and it's an if a relationship were to show up that you wanted, give me like 3, 4, whatever characteristics of what it would look like. And I don't want to hear he's not mean to me or she's not to me or they are not mean to me, whatever, whomever it is shows up. But I want to hear what it is, not what it isn't, if possible.
Yes. I have found that intelligence, like super crazy smart, is super important. I think 1, so I stay challenged, but then 2, so it bounces back to me if the smart person wants to be with me, which
smart. Love it.
Yeah. Love
Keep going. What else?
Funny.
We gotta have funny. We gotta have funny.
Ambition.
Interesting. Okay.
And a love of animals.
Love of animals. Okay. Now, love that. Steph's going to tell you to put those 4 things on a sticky note. So that's going to be one of your homeworks. So we're going to put those 4 things on a sticky note. And if you don't remember them when we listen back to this, you'll have them.
I'll have it.
Then I want to ask you, what would the relationship feel like? Can you give some examples of how you are treated, who you are? Like, how do you show up? Can you give some specifics of just like daydreaming what it would look like?
Oh, I love this. Yeah. I mean, I think I like who I am around them.
Ooh, I love that.
Even in the hyper pleasing type of thing or the hyper let me put you first, it's always like, I'm just so disappointed in myself. So maybe I'm proud of myself. I feel proud of myself in this relationship. How's it feel? I guess there's probably a core belief that I have of like love leaves. It leaves. It always leaves. So I think it disrupts that. I don't know if I can get to love stays, but I might be able to get like, maybe love doesn't leave. So there's some type, it at least like corrodes that.
Well, if you can't make that large of a blanket statement, what are some specific things like that tell you love stays. Like we talk about our retirement together. We ask each other questions about what it would look like, what kind of our favorite vacation for our 5-year anniversary, like what kind of things would be present so you felt secure.
I don't love what came up is that I am pissy. I overreact about something and they don't break up with me.
That's a great starting place though.
Yeah. Something happens where I have become less than pleasant. And they're just like, all right, I'll write it out with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, that's what she's doing today, but she'll be in a better mood tomorrow.
Yeah. Robin, I guess we're really going to have to start with baby steps because of like long-term stuff. I can't get there authentically. I can get there like I'm reading a book.
And by the way, fucking great. That's a great understanding, right? So like, I think that this is identifying another piece of homework for you to explore is to like just vision what it would look like. And again, like I can't say this enough. I'm not suggesting that you must be in a relationship to be happy because I think this will have ramifications for you in your work life, in your friendships, in being able to ask for a rate that is commensurate with your talent. Like this will have an overflow. And then when someone shows up, you decide.
Yeah.
And then when you've done some of this work, then you can sit down. Like I would in no way, shape, or form. Like if you even tried to ask the question you started this podcast off with, I'd be like, nope, we're not even going to talk about this. Renee, I'd be like, you stop it. You stop it right now. Like that question's like down the road. When you think about what you want, I want it to be so specific.
Yeah.
That you can see this person.
Yeah.
And then guess what? I believe, now I don't know if everybody else believes this, but I believe when you do that, that person will probably show up. But
oh my God. Yeah. Yeah.
If they don't, like, guess what? You're a baller ass bitch in every other area of your life now. And you probably have much more intimate relationships with the people who are already in your life.
Yeah. Holding two things. One is how foolish I feel about coming at you with just like, I just haven't gotten lucky, guys. That's it. Nothing more to be looked at. I just haven't gotten lucky. Jesus Christ.
But you stop it, though. You stop it. We start where we start.
100%. And there are weirdly, like, I think at work is the only place where this is sort of kind of started to show up. And it took 6 years of practice to get there.
But you did.
God, the hemming. Yeah. Messy. Ooh, messy. Yeah.
I've said it before. There was this young kid that I worked with in this organization called Youth at Risk, and we had gone away for this like retreat, and we all had to like give some like declarative statement at the end of it. And she said, and I will never forget this girl. I will never forget her face. And I think of it all the time. She said, I'm messy, but I'm pretty. And it's like my heart fucking broke and I got goosebumps. And I was just like, yeah. I was like, wouldn't it be amazing if we could all just say, I'm messy, but I'm pretty?
God.
Like, wouldn't that be if we'd all live into that? Like, no judgment about our mess. But like, fuck that shit. Even with all my mess, my hair all like this, I'm pretty. Like, it's just, maybe not with my hair like that.
More with your hair like that.
So pretty.
Because I'm messy.
Yes, 1,000%. Yeah. And I think there's also the notion of just like, I forget that we're all messy.
Yes.
We're all messy. Because they're in you guys being like, me too. I'm like, I don't know. You guys both have your shit together.
Oh, no, we're fucking really a mess.
I was going to ask you, like, if your friend came up to you or texted you, let's say texted you or left you a voice note that was like, I had the worst fucking day. My boss fucking sucks. I hate them, blah, blah, blah. And then I went to the fridge in the, like, snack room and I tried to get my sandwich out and someone ate half my sandwich and I know it was that motherfucker, like, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And like sent you this rant. How would you respond to getting that?
In a heartbeat. Yeah. Because if I can help, if I can be the hero, oh my God, in a heartbeat. To that exact point, this just happened recently. Well, yeah, the fires have been here, right, guys? So it's just been, we're having some days out here.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get out of it. And I was so upset. And I had a friend text and she was like, how we doing? And I was like, okay, but I don't want to talk about it. And she was like, well, over here, I'm depressed. And immediately I was like, well, if you're depressed, get on in here. Yeah, I would love to talk if we're going to work on you. So yeah, to your point of yes, it feels great for me to give it, but I can't put that on somebody else wanting to do that for me.
Okay, hold that. And then if you had this thing when we were talking about how it would feel if you were in relationship and I think you said you were pissy and that they would ride through it with you.
Yeah.
So, given that you know yourself and know that if your friend or someone you love was being pissy and having a hard time, it would make you actually show up as more of yourself. Try to fix it. Try to be the hero. Try to show up more. Try to like have empathy for them.
Yeah.
I just want you to remember that when you think that you're not like deserving of the same.
Yeah.
Because, like, I bet anyone that you would show that to, and I know that you're, like, an overdoer. I'm an overdoer, too. So, like, you're probably there to, like, help a stranger who is feeling depressed. And I get that. But most people who care about you even a teensy bit, if you're saying you're having a bad day or if you show up a little pissy, like, their reaction isn't going to be like, okay, peace out. You know, it's going to be like, oh my God, what's going on? How can I help you? Like, or at the very least, they'll be like, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, you're 1,000% right. You're absolutely, yes.
I had, I like, am not a great relationship person. I think I am becoming one.
Yes.
I started dating my partner and I have OCD. And sometimes when my OCD is bad, especially when I was like under medicated, I could like show up as someone who, I mean, I'll just use the example of a stove. Everyone has the fear that they leave the stove on, right?
Sure.
So there would be some periods in my life where I'm like standing in front of the stove for like, I kid you not, 10 whole minutes, like looking at it and redoing this like weird process that I'm going through because I think not the stove is on, but somehow I've killed 95 people, you know? And so I'm like, in my head, there's this whole tangent, like, how the hell is anyone going to date me? Like, that is crazy. And when I show up as that crazy, someone will leave. Because who can handle that, let alone handle that for months on end, let alone handle that forever and ever? Because, like, I don't want to even handle it. I don't want to look at it, you know?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
But in reality, once I started to look at it, once I got okay with it, once I was like, well, that just, like, is a part of who I am sometimes.
Yeah.
Other people in my life, I would let in on that and be like, oh, sometimes I'm like this weird little person. I mean, right now I'm just saying it on a podcast, you know, like I'm like, I don't give a shit. Like sometimes I'm this weirdo. And my partner and everyone else who sees it is like so loving and understanding of it that it has made me realize that like I am deserving of that and it's not a big deal. Like no one thinks that you're like a terrible person because you're a little pissy.
God, yes. Yeah, it's, again, girl, God, it is in my body. Because there's a it's a clench and a clench to like even just thinking about it. But I think this idea of like start with friends, girl, just start with friends, I think could get us so far.
In very small steps.
Yeah.
Like what feels like is a little bit scary, but not shutting you down scary. Like, I want you to think like that. Like once a week, I will talk to somebody authentically about something that's coming up without, and I feel like there should be a follow-up of without then immediately switching it to their life or feeling like I owe them something.
Yeah. I need advice on this, but if I didn't have your guidance, here's what I would do. Like, you know, like if it was, I was online and I was like, oh, she told me how to do that.
You'd be like, never.
Right. But I would try to be like really honest with myself and like, the first step would be like, I'm going to have to narrate this to you. So I would call you, Robin, and be like, hey, I'm trying to work through a feeling that I'm not comfortable with. And I need your help. And I'm going to narrate it for a little bit until I can actually get into it. And as soon as I get into it, I may not be able to stay in it. But are you up for that for the next 10 minutes? It would have to look like
love that.
I love that too.
What if you just found one friend that you felt comfortable saying, I'm trying to practice this.
Yeah.
Could you be my person?
Yeah. Yes.
And this is how it's probably going to look. And you're and by the way, this friend I can almost guarantee you is going to be like this. Yeah, of course, it's no big deal, of course. And for you, it's going to be like you're going to be thinking about it for 2 days, and there's going to be practices and conversations. But that's okay.
Yes. Yeah,
that's okay. Yeah. And then when you see that the world didn't end, that is one experience to put inside your little like treasure box inside.
Right.
Like you need like right now that's empty.
Yeah.
We need to fill it with experiences where people didn't leave, you didn't die, nothing horrible happened.
Yep.
In fact, you felt a little better.
Yeah.
Because I would wager that you are probably a pretty fantastic friend. Like that you support people and you're there for them. Do you not feel that to be true?
No, I definitely do. I also think it's true, like, you're only as close as you allow yourself to be vulnerable to people. So I think...
so it's baby steps in that.
Yeah.
So you don't quite feel like you can be really open and intimate with people yet. Okay.
Right.
You know, and by the way, I feel like, again, my therapist said to me once, she was like, you don't actually have to feel like you've got to conquer this if you don't want to.
Yeah.
There's a real world. That's why I feel like you're going to walk out of this with a lot to maybe think about. I also kind of want you to do the artist way if you've never done it. Like the 12-week workout.
Baby, it's back.
I'll do it.
I can't not talk about the artist way, but you don't have to. I don't know about you, but sometimes just having that escape hatch makes me be like, I could do this. I'm up for this now. And that's something that I've learned, you know, before. I used to be like, I must do every single self-help course that presents itself that someone suggests, because if not, well, then that means I'm not trying to better myself. And then I'm not. And like, I have, like, in my now 50s will say, let me think about if this is the right time for me to delve into that. Because sometimes it may not be. Like, I went back to therapy recently and I really gated it. I said, these are the things I want to talk about and work on right now. And there's another piece that maybe I'm not ready to work on right now.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. So I feel like we are definitely leaving you with a lot of thinking.
Well, no, what you are leaving me with is, and I don't want to dunk on my therapist, but I think I was missing the baby steps. Like, you just have to tell him how you feel is about 50 steps from where I am right now. So I think the thing that you just gave me of like, you just have to tell your friends how you feel. You just have to show up in the emotion. Like, I'm not ready for that either. I think it's it helped out a lot of like, start with the text and then take it from that. Because I do want to work on it. I just think the steps that I was given prior to this were overwhelming, that it shut me down.
Well, and delete the word just, because it's not just sending a text and just like reaching out. Like, that's a huge fucking mountain. It's not like, just open up and be vulnerable for the first time. It's like, okay.
Right? Yeah.
Like,
and ignore all the reasons that you were so scared into protecting yourself in the first place.
Yeah, just forget. Just become a different person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Truly, I'm not even good at feeling emotions by myself. Like, I have to make it an exercise of like, what are you sad about? Write that and it just, every sentence starts with, I'm sad that. And then tears will come because it forces me to sit in that emotion for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
What are you angry about? I'm angry at that. I'm angry at that. And then it's just like the rage comes up and I can sit in the emotion. What are you scared about? And that one's the big one. I'm always terrified. Always terrified. I hate that.
This whole time, I kept like circling this one thing that was like, write to yourself, because that's what I find really helpful. I do want you to like get to a place where you want to be open with other people, but I am so bad at being vulnerable with myself and being open with myself. Yep. Sometimes I'm like, I don't even know what I'm feeling, let alone like me explaining to someone else. I'm like, I can't even explain this shit to myself.
No,
like,
no, I can't lose control over myself alone.
Yeah. So it's like, I'm getting better at writing how I feel, identifying how I feel. And then sometimes I open the door a little bit to someone else. I mean, literally this morning, I texted my partner, I'm really sad. This is the thing I'm sad about. They said, how can I help you? I said, I don't know how to talk about it yet, but can you check in on me? Can you follow up with me?
Oh my God, huge.
On this.
That's amazing.
Because I can't hold myself accountable.
No,
I'm
I'll
not going to come
it.
back. I'm like, I already told you I'm sad. Like, that's enough. And that was like, took me like 10 minutes, you know? So it's like, there are different levels. I just want whatever feels good to you to like just open the door a little bit more. And it doesn't have to be the same every week. Like this week, I might be able to text, I'm sad. Next week, I might be crying on my friend's lap. Like that is okay. It's a process.
Yeah.
All right. Now I'm going to put on my producer Steph hat. And I want to ask you, how are you feeling right now about this whole conversation?
That's what I was going to ask.
I know.
I think like, well, okay. Hold on. Let me make sure that I'm not trying to fawn you. Hold on. I'm not. I genuinely feel this way. I genuinely feel like you guys I'm feeling stupid.
No.
But how am I feeling about it? I feel dumb
I know.
for coming at it with, I haven't gotten lucky, and now sitting with like, I'm terrified. I am so scared. But beyond that, I feel hopeful. I feel hopeful about this.
I love that. We're going to definitely need some kind of a check back in at some point.
Sure.
There's going to have to be a follow-up.
My God, in a heartbeat. And the thing that I'm really going to leave with is that you said at the beginning of the conversation of like, you show up to relationships as 25% of yourself. Of course they can't love you. You haven't let them meet you. And of course I can't love me. I haven't let myself meet me entirely.
I just think there's something that's so lovely about the idea of like that you came in thinking about dating, and it's really about like dating yourself.
Yeah.
And just like loving yourself and figuring out how in the world, like what is a comfortable line of letting people see the real and authentic you. I can't wait to see more of you.
Yeah. My core belief of love leaves, I think, might be based in I bail on myself. I'm just like, well, we won't be handling that right now. And so the dating yourself thing is, yeah, I would push whoever I was dating to be like, what's up? You don't have to squish that. Yeah. Interesting.
I love Steph's idea of maybe it begins with writing to you.
So good.
Like, there's so much to explore, and I can't wait in our follow-up episode, which you did not commit to, but I did commit you to.
I'll be there.
I can't wait. Yeah. I can't wait.
I'm going to be thinking about this for a long time. This was really helpful. And also, should I go demand my money back from all my therapists? Which has happened here. This is great.
No, they got you. They got you all of this awareness. Like it's like, sometimes it's like, have you ever been with that person that says the one thing and your best friend is like, I have been telling you that for ages. And it's like we're just coming in hot and we have no restrictions that therapists have. So we can just be like, have you thought about like without any degrees whatsoever. Yeah. So it's all in concert with your work. And I want to say this to you. I am so honored and thankful that you trusted us to talk in this way and that you did. Like this also goes in the box that you opened up the door and shared all this. Like that's pretty amazing. And I'm so honored that you trusted us to talk to us today. And I loved every minute of this conversation.
You guys are the best.
Thank you.
Wow. Now, I will tell you that conversation was a walk down memory lane of how I was in past relationships. You know, this entire conversation, it makes me think about us loving ourselves first, you know, fully and completely. And so with that in mind, I challenged producer Steph and I to take ourselves out on a date and report back. Now, the only rules, we had to approach it as if we really wanted to treat ourselves like we would on a first date. Excited to share something or impress ourselves, you know, treat us the way we deserve to be treated. Well, we did, and here's what happened.
Okay, I am following my assignment of doing a date with myself. Now listen, I gotta say, I might be breaking the rules a little bit because I'm kind of meeting somebody for my date with myself, but hear me out. I'm going to a spa. They have a water lounge. They have a hot tub, eucalyptus sauna. Had a little gift certificate from producer Steph at Christmas. And I am going to go there and I'm going to relax. Now I'm going with my friend Baron and we're doing our manifestation bi-weekly. I sound like such a weirdo in this voice memo. I can't even. But we're doing our manifestation bi-weekly, which is all about career growth, but also we laugh and we talk 100 million miles an hour. Now, the reason that I believe, Baron's walking up. The reason that I believe that this counts as a date with myself is because I'm supposed to be working. I have a lot of shit to do, but yet I'm taking a break and I am going to my manifestation weekly with Baron. So this is my date with myself. I think it counts. Producer Steph, don't have anything to say about that.
Hello. Okay, so I just got home. Sorry, I'm like taking off my million winter layers. But I went on a little date with myself. I went to the movies, which I never really do, and I feel like it was a really great date because you can't be on your phone at the movies or like be in contact with the world. I went and saw One of Them Days. It was so good. I laughed super hard. I brought like a little blanket and it was like one of those theaters with the recliner seats that are amazing that I love. And it was just a silly movie that was a lot of fun, like a buddy movie. And it made me just want to go hang out and play with my friends. Great date by myself. Took the train there, took the train back, went out for a glass of wine after. It was great. I loved it.
Okay, so I'm just out of my date with myself. And whoo, do I feel sassy and relaxed. I feel delightful. And I have to say this, I stand by my earlier thought that this was a date by myself because there were times when Baron was in the sauna and I was alone in the hot tub. So, date with myself, successful, check. I have to tell you, sometimes we make up these homework assignments and I'm like, what in the hell was I thinking? But I have to say, this one was pretty amazing. Give it a try, folks. Take yourself on a date and report back to us here at Team Well Adjusting. You can do it on the socials or by email at hello@editodd.io. We would love to hear how your date with yourself went. Well, friends, that's a wrap on our Anti-Valentine's Day episode. Thank you so much, Renee, for coming on the show and being willing to, let us chat through your love life. We can't wait for that follow-up. You got this. For more Robin, and you may need that, you probably don't need it, but if you do, you can follow me at Real Rob Hops on all the platforms, all the socials, as the kids today say. Well Adjusting is an Edit Audio original series. It's exec produced by Steph Colburn and Robin Hopkins. Our producer and editor is Maria Passingham, and our production manager is Kathleen Speckert. Thank you to the entire Edit Audio team and to you for listening. Oh, hey, before you take out those AirPods, this show is just for entertainment. If you are in need of help, please, please, please reach out to a professional. Go ahead and get that help. You deserve it.